In February 1959, 9 experienced hikers vanished on a frozen mountain in the northern Ural range. They weren't reckless thrill seekers. They were trained, disciplined, and used to surviving brutal winter expeditions. Their leader, 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, wasn't just experienced, he was trusted, the kind of person others felt safe following into extreme conditions. Originally, there were 10 of them. One turned back early due to illness. Years later, he would say it felt insignificant at the time, just a minor setback in the trip. It wasn't. That decision saved his life. The remaining 9 continued toward a mountain called Kholat Syakhl, often translated as Dead Mountain. At the time, the name didn't carry weight for them. It was just another route, another challenge. They documented everything: photos, journals, jokes written in the snow. In their final entries, there's no sign of fear. If anything, they seemed confident, even playful, which makes what happened next harder to understand. On February 1st, they made a choice that still confuses investigators. Instead of descending into the forest for shelter, they pitched their tent on an exposed slope. No trees, no natural barrier, just wind and open snow. Temperatures were dropping toward -30 degrees Celsius. And sometime during the night, something changed. Weeks later, search teams found the tent partially buried. Inside were their boots, coats, money, cameras, everything in place. Nothing stolen, nothing scattered, except the tent had been cut open from the inside. 9 sets of footprints led away from it and down the slope, some barefoot, some in socks. The tracks weren't chaotic. They didn't suggest blind panic. They looked controlled, as if the group left together. There were no clear signs of a struggle, no additional footprints, no obvious avalanche debris. And yet 9 experienced hikers stepped into lethal cold without their gear. Whatever was happening inside that tent felt more dangerous than the mountain itself. 9 trained hikers chose the storm over their shelter. That decision is where this story truly begins. The footprints continued nearly a mile into the forest. That's where the first 2 bodies were found, beneath a large cedar tree. They were barefoot, dressed only in underwear. Their hands were badly damaged, skin torn, fingernails broken, consistent with someone trying desperately to climb. Branches were snapped as high as 5 meters above the ground, as if they were trying to escape something or see something. A small fire had been built nearby. It wasn't large, and it wasn't enough to save them, but it tells us something important. They were alive long enough to think, to gather wood, to try. Between that tree and the tent, 3 more bodies were discovered. These hikers were dressed slightly better, suggesting they had taken clothing from the first 2, and they were facing the direction of the tent. They were heading back to their shelter, back to their supplies, back to warmth. They collapsed one by one in the snow, which suggests something critical. Whatever drove them away may have stopped, or at least felt distant enough for them to attempt returning. The final 4 hikers were found months later, buried under deep snow in a ravine further into the forest. And this is where the case stops feeling like a survival tragedy. 2 had massive chest fractures, injuries comparable to those seen in high-speed car crashes. 1 had a crushed skull, another was missing her tongue. What unsettled investigators wasn't just the injuries, it was the lack of external trauma. There were no deep cuts matching that force, no defensive wounds, no signs of a violent struggle, and again, no footprints besides their own. It was as if something had delivered overwhelming force and left nothing behind. The cold explains why they died. It doesn't explain what happened to them. Officially, the cause of death was ruled hypothermia, and for several of the hikers that conclusion makes sense, but not all of them. Medical reports described the chest injuries as extremely powerful, yet oddly precise. Doctors noted that the force required should have left visible damage on the outside of the body. It didn't. Then there was the missing tongue. Some argue it was natural decomposition, animal activity, environmental damage, and scientifically that's possible. But it wasn't just the tongue. Portions of facial tissue were also missing. When you step back and look at the entire scene, it stops feeling simple. Another detail often overlooked, radiation was detected on some of their clothing. Not lethal levels, but measurable. These weren't military personnel. They weren't working near nuclear facilities. They were students. So where did it come from? Years later, authorities closed the case with a vague conclusion. The hikers died due to a compelling natural force. That phrase answers nothing. An avalanche? There wasn't clear supporting evidence at the time. Military testing? No confirmed documentation directly ties it to the group. Infrasound triggering panic? An interesting theory, but it doesn't explain shattered ribs. Every explanation almost works, until it doesn't. And here's the part that doesn't sit right with me. Panic spreads, but it usually starts with someone. In this case, all 9 reacted, almost as if a single trigger affected them simultaneously. Nothing in their final entries suggests fear. And yet, something changed in a single night. More than 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass incident is officially closed. But it doesn't feel closed. Some researchers believe a rare slab avalanche may have occurred. Not a massive rolling wave of snow, but a sudden shift creating pressure and fear. That could explain why they cut open the tent quickly. But it doesn't fully explain the footprints or the distance they traveled without proper gear or the internal trauma. Others believe secret military testing may have taken place nearby. Reports of strange glowing lights were documented around that time, and the late 1950s in the Soviet Union were far from transparent. But again, no direct evidence. And that's the pattern. Every theory answers one question and creates another. 9 experienced hikers, no confirmed attacker, no definitive natural disaster, no detailed official explanation, just a torn tent on a frozen slope, and a group of people who, for reasons we still don't fully understand, felt safer outside in -30 degrees than inside their own shelter. Experienced people don't abandon survival instinct without a reason, so either something natural occurred that we still don't fully grasp, or something inside that tent triggered all 9 of them at once. Because 9 rational people don't make the same fatal decision simultaneously without a cause. And whatever that cause was, it was powerful enough to make them choose the cold. And then it left no trace behind.